25th of March 2009. Hello again. I'm in the coffee shop again today. It's 10:20 in the morning and the girl just stole the newspaper. I went to get it from the shelf and she asked me to pass it to her. Me being me, I gave it to her. She said sorry, I said it's okay, I had some writing to do. So here we are, second day of thought dumping. Strangely enough, last night I felt a sense of relief and peace after I had finished writing. Was this because it was cathartic, or just the path I was meant to follow? And I had finally stumbled on it. I slept so much better too. I didn't wake until 4:30 a.m. That's good for me. I still feel peaceful today too. I know I still don't have a life yet, but doing this thought dumping gives my day a sense of purpose that I haven't had for what seems a very long time. That girl has left now, and she didn't read the newspaper. She did keep staring at me though. Strange. I'm hoping to go to the hospital this afternoon to see my lifeline. She is called Nikki. My life changed in a positive direction the day I was given Nikki by Mr. Mac, and I have been holding on to her ever since. That day was my turning point. It was the week leading up to Easter. My body and emotions had finally come back together again, and I was physically and emotionally exhausted. I had been going through traumatic medical experiences for almost 4 months now, primarily coping on my own, and I remember sitting at my dining table on the Saturday and fully understanding the meaning and need for euthanasia. If the quality of my life was just going to be a stream of bursting wounds, burning flesh, drains, and an armpit filling up with fluid, then there was not much point in living. This wasn't living as I knew it. It was surviving, a slow torture. On the Sunday, after a disturbed night of more fluid in my armpit, tears and worry, Simon rang me in the morning to see how I was. I cried. He knew if I was crying there was a real problem and insisted he was taking me to hospital to see a doctor and we would stay until I got seen. Weekends are the worst time to be in need, as there is a skeleton staff. So Simon drove to Nottingham, 40 minutes from his new home, and took me to Gillies ward. This was becoming home from home. We waited up to 2 hours, and Simon entertained me in his usual way, making me laugh in between the tears. I got seen eventually by a female doctor, was aspirated, felt instantly better, and we left. I was in the clinic again on Monday to see my consultant. Simon insisted on taking me. I was determined I was not going to cry all over him. Pride and dignity were very important to me. I lost the battle, cried my way through the appointment, and asked him to put me to sleep, as I was exhausted and could not cope. All I wanted was 3 days' sleep. They sort out all the medical problems and wake me up 3 days later. He said he was sorry I was having such an awful time, but the hospital didn't offer that service, and then drew off more fluid from my back, shoulder, and armpit. I was getting used to needles now. I am sure if I was a vessel and you poured water into me, it would come out through the holes. We were done, and I went out to the waiting area and bumped into a friend of mine from Ladies' Circle. She was 18 months ahead of me in her breast cancer journey, had had her reconstruction, and also had my consultant as her plastic surgeon. We hugged, I cried, and asked her when it was all going to stop. She said it would. I was just exhausted and needed to rest. I thought I was done, but in the middle of crying all over my friend, I was called back in. I think he felt sorry for me, so I was given a steroid injection, which should help with the fluid problem. I left, traumatized again. Tuesday I didn't go to the hospital, but Wednesday I was back again. Same problem, still trying to hold it together. I saw the new registrar that day, as my consultant wasn't around. I told her I wanted to die. I couldn't cope with these continuing problems. She phoned my consultant for advice, and I was sent over to the Breast Institute for an ultrasound. Me being me, tried not to cry whilst I was waiting to be seen. I was the girl who didn't do crying in public, but I was finding it very difficult to keep them back. The ultrasound appointment was yet another experience that will leave an everlasting mark on my life. I lay on the couch on my side watching the screen as this massive needle shot into my armpit. I just laid there, defenceless, and cried. The chap stopped and asked what was wrong. Did I not want this drain putting in? I told him to carry on and explained that I was just exhausted, needed all the medical complications to stop, and some peace. So that was the first of a fashionista of drains that I was to be given over the next few days and weeks. I had this massive long tube with what looked like a colostomy bag hanging from my chest wall. I was shell-shocked, got dressed, and just sat stunned in the treatment room, waiting for Mr. Mack, to whom I had been told was coming to see me. He wasn't my consultant, but had given me the all-clear results on March 12th, so he was growing on me now. He walked into the room with my green file, which had gone from being thin at the beginning of December 2007 to taking on a life of its own. I remember saying, "Oh God," when he walked in. We agreed he wasn't God, but that it would be useful if he were, as he could stop this roller coaster that I was on, and one that I couldn't get off. He sat and chatted to me one-on-one for a while, and said I was having a worse time than most, and was beginning to feel quite sorry for me. It was novel to have such time with a consultant. I'd so much to say, so many experiences to comment on, and he was actually investing time in me. I had been shouting, it would seem, in silence all the weeks I had been in hospital, and no one had been listening. This was about to change. Despite having been given the all-clear results a week earlier, I didn't feel I had anything to be relieved about, as I was still drowning in medical problems. He understood and took me to Nikki. She was to be my breast care nurse for the future. I asked to be swapped from the original lady I was given, as I really clicked with Nikki. The three of us sat in a room. Mr. Mack explained to Nikki what had happened to me since December. It was a lot. Then we sat and chatted for 45 minutes before Mr. Mack left the room. I could not believe a consultant had actually given me that much time, and I will never forget that kindness. I gave feedback during that 45 minutes about some of the awful experiences I had had on the ward, the feeling of being passed from pillar to post, how I felt I would have more luck communicating with the dead than with my surgeon. I will never forget the look on Mr. Mack's face when I said that. He was trying hard to control his facial features, but it was said, and I felt better. Another great kindness was to be shown to me during that meeting too. Nikki gave me her mobile number to use over the Easter weekend. If I had any medical problems, I was to call her, and Mr. Mack would come in and help me himself. I couldn't believe it. At last somebody was helping me. I left that hospital at lunchtime feeling I had made a breakthrough. Nikki was going to be my saviour, my confidant, and my friend. I was going to share my ups and downs with her over the coming year. And now for cappuccino number 2. Some of the regulars have now arrived, so time to chat and socialise for a while.